Thank you for listening to the 201st ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Cam. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, it's always a pleasure to have you here in the studio. What's been going on? I've been out of state the last week. Basically left as soon as we recorded last week, and I just rolled into town a few hours ago.
Yeah. How was your trip?
It was pretty good. Just visited family in the Indianapolis area, and they have a pool. So that's what we did pretty much every day. Just caught up with family, played some games, visited, that sort of thing. Most of growing up, all of our vacations always revolved around visiting family, and so we still do some of that. It was quite enjoyable. It was really hot there, and got to experience 4th of July with a 9-month-old baby who didn't quite enjoy the fireworks.
I can imagine.
And so I was sympathetic to everybody that I've heard about over the years with pets that don't care for fireworks. But once she was able to go to sleep, she stayed asleep. It was just getting to sleep with the artillery going off was a little bit of a challenge.
Any fireworks mishaps? Anything?
No.
Any accidents?
Luckily, I never got very close to any fireworks.
Yeah.
I viewed them all from afar, and the only mishaps I saw were online. So that's the way I like to keep it.
Yeah, every year I feel like there's videos that come out. You're just like, how does this happen? Like,
I saw one where they had I saw it just today, they had their whole stash in their driveway, and a firework tipped over, hit the stash, lit it on fire, and it was just mayhem.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't think working in the ER is very fun on, well, probably never is, but it was especially not fun on 4th of July.
How'd your dog do?
Fine. We weren't even really home for the 4th, and we got home late that night, and she was hiding under everything, which is what she normally does. We were having fireworks go off for a week before the 4th anyway, so.
Yeah, as I've gotten older, and especially now with the baby, I become more of a curmudgeon around fireworks.
It's like, it's like, midnight. Come on.
It's like, it's June 30th. You can't start this already. Kyle, we are going to talk about a little bit of football recruiting because it's that time of year, and we have a special Patreon suggested topic for basketball later. Before we get to that, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review on the podcast platform that you listen to us on, and you can support us on Patreon. Shout out to our newest subscribers over there, Joshua Jacobson and Brandon Hanks. Thank you very much. The new subscribers just been rolling in. I think they were, special shout out again to Joshua. He followed up. He said, do the wing challenge. I will subscribe. We did the wing challenge. He subscribed.
Yeah.
So
what
thank
a guy.
you. Follow up on that. It's being edited right now. We tried to get fancy. We had a 3-camera setup for the wing challenge to experiment with some new, a little bit of a new thing there. So it's being edited. It ended up being really long. So be patient with us. That will go out relatively soon, and it will be lots of fun.
How's your body feel from that? Any irregular activity?
I was okay. I'll be completely honest with you. I knew that as soon as we were done, I had to go home and pack, and then I was going to be in the car for 8 hours the next morning. So I tried to not go as aggressive as I could have, just to survive the next day.
Yeah.
I was still, then, I kind of had to power through the night and take some, do a little bit of Pepto-Bismol just to make sure that we were okay there.
Just to be safe?
Yeah, everything was fine.
I felt like whenever I was driving home after we were done, I felt like my stomach was like a cauldron. I literally
there was a
felt
potion brewing
warm.
in there.
Yeah. Like my body felt warm, and I was like, this is not normal, I don't think. But, that was the price we paid for some memories.
Oh, yeah. If we're going to get to the football stuff up top, and then the Patreon topic is Tim over on Patreon suggested that we give our all-time Mizzou basketball squad. He's talking starters, bench players, and coach. So if you want to stick around for that, there should be a timestamp. And of course, for Patreon stuff and any of that, there are always links in the description for that. I feel like last week we talked about USC and UCLA moving to the Big Ten, which is like a done deal basically. That's going to happen in 2024. And then as soon as we were done recording, we saw that Washington and Oregon applied for membership or something like that.
Yeah. And it sounds like that's not going to happen. It sounds
Right.
like the Big Ten is standing pat where they are, at least for now. And the Oregon and Washington, I mean, who knows what they're going to do? Are they going to look at the Big 12? Or are they going to try and just stay where they are? I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens.
And then more recently, there's been rumors about the Big 12, which we kind of talked about. It's kind of made sense. The Big 12 is reaching out to maybe some of the Pac-12 schools to try to consolidate things.
Yeah.
With obviously Texas and Oklahoma moving on.
Yeah, I never thought the Big 12 would end up being like a saving grace for some of these other. Like I never thought that the Big 12 would outlast some of these other conferences, but it's looking like they might be able to survive by getting some of the outcasts from the other conferences that are kind of jumping ship.
Yeah, I don't know what that looks like though, as far as like the biggest powers in those conferences moving elsewhere, and then just. I don't know. I guess you got to get what you can if you're looking around. And it reminds me, okay, remember like in school, you're like doing a group project or something. And there's like, I remember several instances where you'd have like a friend group or something. And there's like, we need this many people, like pick your group. And it's like, okay, well, there's like 3 of us that want to stay together. And then like 3 people over here, but then they're grouping up over here. And then sometimes you were just like the odd man out, and you just had to like form a group with the outcasts.
Yep.
Maybe that was just me, but hopefully somebody out there can relate to that.
I can relate to that.
Okay.
Were you the outcast as a kid?
You know, I think I had my fair share of being on the in group and the out group, so I got to see both sides of it. We were talking on Discord with some of the guys about like what the SEC might do. And I feel like when we've talked about conference realignment in the past, the thing that always jumps to my mind is just scooping up more Florida schools. And I know Florida would not like that because they have the advantage of being the only one in the SEC. But I feel like...
Well, Texas A&M didn't want Texas to join, and they didn't get their they got steamrolled.
Yeah,
so.
I feel like that type of argument, it doesn't hold any weight anymore. And... obviously, like splitting up rivalries, nobody cares about that anymore. It's almost like, hey, find a buddy school and then go try to get into a conference.
Yeah.
And so what makes sense to me would be like if the SEC was trying to get aggressive, Florida State, Miami, and Clemson makes a lot of sense. You'd need a 4th to make that work. But... maybe that's when like Oklahoma State could be in the fold. I don't know. But
I feel like at this point I want everything just to kind of stay where it's at. I don't know what I think about just these superpower conferences just continuing to just gobble up every like meaningful program in the country and just becoming this like I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I want it to be the North versus the South, which is looking like we're headed that way, at least for Power 5.
Yeah. Big Ten versus SEC.
Yeah. Well, it's not even geographical anymore. I mean, with the California schools and everything, I don't know. Just out of control at this point. It's just, We've never seen money be more influential in the sport than it is right now, in my opinion. I feel like just with NIL and with the conference just scattering. I don't know. It seems like it's more of a priority than ever.
Yeah, and there's not like an obvious answer
right
away that we can turn to, I don't think. So strap in, where it's probably not over.
And yet Notre Dame's still not in a conference.
Yeah, that might be the weirdest thing out of all. Okay, so I guess that'd be the 4th one. You grab Clemson, Miami, Florida State, Notre Dame. Welcome to the SEC.
Yeah, sounds like a fun conference to play in.
Okay, just Mizzou stuff. We talked a lot about recruiting last week. Follow up on some of that stuff. Mizzou did get a commit from St. Mary's, a running back, Jamal Roberts, from St. Louis. He was a 3-star player and also held a Kansas State offer. And I think, if I'm reading the tea leaves correctly, this might be a little bit of insurance for some of the higher-ranked players in the class, specifically Jeremiah Love. You know, we should still be in the mix for him, but his recruitment has just taken off on a rocket.
Sure.
So we'll see what happens there. I know probably fans want to see, I don't know. I feel like no matter what happens, a lot of times fans want to see something else. So like our running back commit is kind of like, well, we kind of already have a lot of running backs, and there's good running back prospects. This would have been nice to grab a defensive lineman or something like that.
It's a fairly replaceable position.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's you have to go after these guys. I think when they're on your radar. Running back is a position that you can develop at the college level, and we're not in a position to say no to 3-star guys that want to come, I don't think.
Yeah. It seems like a kind of a weird thing to immediately label a new recruit as like a plan B guy for, you know, the backup plan to somebody that we want more. But, you know, I think that Jamal Roberts is very talented. You know, he's a very good high school player. He plays both sides. He is a running back and linebacker. Still is very athletic, fast, well built. I think he's like 6 foot 200. You know, he's a well built running back. He can run you over for sure. Can fight for those extra yards at the goal line. And yeah, I mean, you said it. The running back is a fairly replaceable position in football, and probably more so at the NFL level. But still, like, yeah, I mean, it's not impossible to think that Jamal Roberts could end up being a better college player than Jeremiah Love. That seems crazy to say, but it's very possible. And recruiting rankings are totally ambiguous. And, you know, I think that he's by far he's talented enough to take a shot on him. And
yeah, and it's not. And if the staff felt really good about Love, still, it's not like they would say no to both of them coming.
Yeah, and it's just a position you need a lot of guys at, and. You know, Missouri really hit on Tavoris Jones last year, so they have a really good stud running back with Jones, and you know, so we maybe don't need Roberts to even make an impact in the first year or two. So
then we have a lot of players that will be announcing where they will be playing college football. Their announcements will be very soon. We thought we were going to have one this past week with Joshua Manning, but he postponed his decision. Mm-hmm. Off the top of your head, is that postponement good or bad for Mizzou?
I think it seems like a good thing, and I don't know that I don't know who he's gonna choose in the end, but it seemed like he was definitely headed towards a Kansas State commitment earlier this week, and there was a Kansas State writer who basically just came out and said, yeah, we think Eli Drinkwitz is the reason why Manning postponed his commitment, and you know, I'm sure there's some NIL discussions going on, even though of course that's doesn't happen in recruiting. We have to say that every time, but it definitely seems like Missouri made a last minute push, maybe realized we're not at the top of the food chain when it's commitment time and we need to make a move. And so, you know, I don't know what that'll happen in the long run, but that's crazy, man. It's crazy that they're really posturing for some of these kids. It's insane, but I love it. It's fun, and you know, I mean, he's doing his best, man. Drinkwitz it's
got to be so stressful.
Oh my gosh,
I can't imagine. Just like whatever you have to do. Like, let's just assume that that's exactly what happened. Like, the staff gets word that it's probably going to be Kansas State. What do you even do? Like, I can't even think. Like, okay, you're just calling him up. Like, hey, like, let me work on a few things. Let me see what I can do, and just if you can give me a little bit of time.
It takes a special person, man. I don't think I could do it even for $4 million a year. I don't think I could be a college football coach, man. The amount of like plates they're balancing at the same time. I mean, not only are they expected to go out and get those kids, but you know, they're trying to keep on to the guys they still have. And like other coaches are doing the same exact thing to
and get ready to play football games.
Yeah, we got a football game in like a month, so a month or two. So it's there's a lot on this plate.
I would do it. I would get maybe 2 years.
Oh yeah,
and then I would get fired and never hired ever again.
There you go. You'd pull a Dan Mullen, like get paid a whole bunch of money and then get paid to never return, and you'll be set.
Yeah, he had a bit of a career before Florida.
That's true. You can't get the big payday without doing something.
Do a lot of work ahead of time. But if you just dropped me into the Mizzou head coaching position, I'd make some good money for 2 years, and the entire program would be in shambles, and I would probably, I don't know, I guess I'd try to cheat. I don't know.
Never be able to return to the state of Missouri.
No, but I would just
go live in Indiana because you're familiar with it.
There you go. I would never step foot on a football field ever again. So Cayden Green is announcing where he will be committing on Friday, very soon.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that one?
I mean, this is a huge deal, man. It's one of the biggest prospects that Missouri is in on right now, and they have a shot. They really do. This has been an incredibly long process. I think Missouri's in the final two with Oklahoma. Seems like Cayden Green's been an Oklahoma lean for several months now. But I think Missouri gave themselves a shot, and we talked about that a little bit last week, coming off the heels of the summit event that they had, whatever that was, 2 weekends ago.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like Missouri really put themselves in a good position, about as good as they could probably do. I still think Oklahoma gets him, but man, Drinkwitz has done everything he possibly can.
So plan for that to be an Oklahoma decision, but cautiously hopeful that Missouri might be able to pull it out.
Yeah, I'm not going to be shocked if Missouri gets him, but I'd be pretty surprised, and I'd plan on Oklahoma. And there's I think his name is Hayes Fawcett or something like that on Twitter. He does a lot of edits for he helps a lot of guys make their decisions and their announcements and stuff like that. He has a large following on Twitter, and he tweeted, I should have looked at the actual tweet before I started talking about it, but he basically made a tweet alluding to Oklahoma is going to have a really good month of July. They're going to, they're in on some big recruits that they're probably going to land and stuff. And literally minutes after he tweeted that, Cayden Green announced that, he was making his decision on Friday and tagged Hayes Fawcett in the tweet and stuff. So, that may be reading way into things like too much, but it just seemed like, this guy was like, oh, wow, Cayden Green, he just told me he's going to commit to Oklahoma.
Oklahoma just signed or got a commitment from a 4-star wide receiver.
I'm going to make his edit, and I'm going to send out this tweet that Oklahoma's on fire.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see.
We're not going to get our hopes up around here.
Yeah. I told some of you guys on Discord I got suckered into the hype after his visit. I kind of started buying back into the hope that this actually isn't over, and it's not over, but uphill battle still.
Yeah. One thing that I forgot to write down, but just a couple days ago, Christian Gray announced he's committing to Notre Dame. That never really felt like Mizzou was much of a player there. Cornerback out of DeSmet in St. Louis. So, yeah, he's off the board to Notre Dame. Miles McVay will be announcing his decision on August 11th. So, still got a little bit of time there. But got to like Mizzou's chances there. I would say more so than Cayden Green. I don't know what they're probably about 100 spots apart on the rankings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say, just to bring some, Missouri's in on a lot of good offensive linemen right now. They have a shot at, I think there's like 4 really big offensive lineman recruits that they have a shot at. I think they definitely land at least one of the 4, but I feel the best about Logan Reichert of that group of 4. And then next would probably be Miles McVay and then Cayden Green, but I don't know, man. I've felt better about Miles McVay than I do now. Maybe a few months ago. Missouri seemed to really be the only serious player there for a while, and Alabama's they're a player, man, and I don't know how much. You never know with Alabama. guys will say they're in their final two, and maybe that's not a committable offer. It's tough to know.
Alabama will just decide, like, we want this guy, and they know they can get him because of his star ranking and his other offers, and they'll just be like, yep, we're going to go get this guy.
Yeah, and they've done that with a lot of Missouri recruits. So
you basically have to hope sometimes that, if you're recruiting against Alabama in that situation, you got to hopefully look at the other players they're in on and be like, hey.
Hope they land some of those guys.
Yeah, and just be like, look at all these other guys they're recruiting. Like, they're not going to stop recruiting those guys with you on board.
Yeah.
We're talking to 3 other offensive linemen.
Yeah, the fact that he is decided on a date and it's in August, like before his senior season, makes me a little nervous. And that if it was Missouri, then he might be a little more patient. But if it's Alabama, he's ready to commit right now. So that's completely just me.
A lot of guys are wrapping up their recruitments right now, though. So
yeah, that's true. A lot of guys want to be done with it before their senior season. So
you mentioned Reichert. He does have a crystal ball on 24/7 Sports prediction to Mizzou.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about him.
Yeah. And then we're recording on Wednesday the 6th. So Thursday night, Amir Herring will be announcing his decision. Sorry, before we get on to that, who's the other major player for McVay? It's Alabama, but then is there not a third?
I think it's just Mizzou and Alabama.
Okay, cool. I don't know what to think about that. That makes me nervous, but also, like, I just can't imagine that Alabama would be that aggressive on closing that deal so soon.
Yeah, I don't know. His father is a Missouri alum. Missouri's been on him for forever. He's, regional kid. I think he's from East St. Louis. Missouri has a lot of things going for them, but Alabama's Alabama, and Nick Saban is Nick Saban. So, yeah, that's a coin flip for me. I don't really know what to expect on that one. Okay,
so Amir Herring, take it away.
Yeah, Michigan kid who his recruitment might be the most unpredictable out of all the guys we just talked about. I think it really comes down to on what Michigan wants to do. Michigan actually has a pretty terrible recruiting class for their standards right now. I think they're in like the 40s or 50s in like team rankings. Freaking Harbaugh is he's struggling, man, with recruiting. But sometimes I wonder about those NFL guys like returning to college and trying to recruit and like doing it for like several years. He's probably getting burnt out on it, honestly. But
yeah, I don't know why you would want to. I mean, I get the it's your alma mater. You want to you can come back and further solidify your legacy.
Yeah,
but
he coached in a Super Bowl like not that long ago.
Yeah,
like within the last 7 or 8 years.
I don't know.
Anyways, so yeah, I think if Michigan wants Herring, that's where he's gonna go. And if Michigan decides that they don't need him, then I think it's Missouri.
I'll take those odds. All right. Anything else football related before we move on to this basketball topic?
I think that's it.
All right. So, like I said, Tim over on Discord suggested a topic for us. He wanted to know our all-time Mizzou basketball squad. So I wrote down 5 starters, 4 bench players, and a coach. Interesting options there. We did limit it to year 2000 to present, roughly. Just so that we know what we're talking about even a little bit, because even some of these guys we were too young to have watched play outside of highlights.
We know who Anthony Peeler is, guys. Okay.
Yeah.
But he's pre-2000.
Yeah. So if you want to give us your pre-2000 all-time Mizzou squad, feel free and educate us a little bit on some of the older players. I want to start with coach.
Okay.
Because that's very important.
Now, is this do we want to okay, you already know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Is this their current self or their self whenever they were at Mizzou?
I think you can pick the best version of them within reason.
Okay.
That you feel comfortable with. I might argue with you. I might say that it's unfair on a couple guys depending on what you do.
Okay.
But I say that because I'm choosing to live in an imaginary world where Quinn Snyder never left as Mizzou basketball coach.
Okay, interesting.
And is like one of the all-time greats in college basketball.
Seems realistic. So is this I don't know if I can say this. So Quinn Snyder sobered up.
Yeah, best version of himself imaginable.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you pretty much have to pick Quinn Snyder
Yeah.
in this situation. I feel like he's like, he was one of the best coaches in the NBA for a stretch.
I think he's going to be the next coach of the San Antonio Spurs after Greg Popovich retires.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best basketball coaches in the world right now. It's kind of hard not to pick Quinn Snyder.
Yeah, and I like showing him love because, I feel like he was in the Mizzou fan doghouse, kind of not all his fault for why he was there for quite a while. And he had to grind to get back to where he is now. He coached in the G League. He was an assistant in the NBA. Finally got a head coaching job. Did a really good job. I think he won NBA Coach of the Year. He was at least a finalist a couple times.
He did. With the Jazz.
Yeah, and I think
the Jazz isn't. I mean, that's not. I mean, that's a tough place to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a small market team.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get big time free agents. Yeah. So, and I honestly think, like offensively, he's a really good basketball coach. And I think he knows basketball better than, I don't know. I think he's right there with anybody else that Mizzou has had recently. You could go Mike Anderson, I think. That was tempting for me, but then I think you have to kind of tailor your squad to run his type of game.
Right, that's true.
So who'd you go with for coach?
Yeah, Quinn Snyder for sure.
Okay.
I considered Kim Anderson, but I decided that I would just choose Quinn Snyder instead.
Yeah, I thought about Kim Anderson, but then I remembered we were trying to do the best.
The best. Yeah. Not the worst of all time for any school ever.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I feel like my starting point guard and your starting point guard, it's no-brainer. The best point guard in Mizzou history, Phil Pressey.
Okay.
Right?
That's not who I picked
for
my starting lineup.
Okay. Who's your starting point guard?
Yeah, I mean, I think I went with a little bit of a best player possible starting lineup and didn't worry so much necessarily about the starting positions. But I went with Jordan Clarkson as my point guard because he has been very good in the NBA and plays some point in the NBA. So Phil Pressey, he's still on the team.
Okay.
He'll play.
Sounds good. But Jordan Clarkson's in your starting lineup.
Absolutely. Real quick on Phil Pressey. Do you hold a grudge whatsoever for, like, I think he's slightly, like, polarized with Mizzou communities over, like, his last year at Mizzou and how he kind of, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He kind of
threw some games away at the end.
Yeah.
You can say it. Yeah. Okay.
Do you hold a grudge for that?
No.
Okay.
I don't know though.
Like, it's tough to blame him because he was kind of a one-man show in some ways.
And honestly, I think it's very obvious when you look back at that season that he was missing Michael Dixon Jr. Yeah.
They needed another guard so badly.
And Dixon was the guy with the ball in his hand at the end of the games previously. Phil Pressey would go off and have incredible games and be, dishing assists and scoring a little bit. But when it came to crunch time, Dixon was a 90% free throw shooter. He was the guy with the ball late game situations, into shot clock situations. So, and they planned on him being there until he wasn't. So I think that was part of the problem, Pressey's junior season.
Yeah, it's definitely a all-timer for the what-if conversation.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got at my 2 guard. Now it's way too tempting to just like list the 2012 team right here. So I tried to avoid doing that, but I still have the 2 guard as Marcus Denman.
I have Marcus Denman.
And then my first kind of throwback guy that I didn't watch a ton of is at the 3 spot, and that is Kareem Rush.
Did you look at my paper?
No.
I have Kareem Rush as well. Kind of playing the small forward, 3-and-D guy.
Yeah, I mean, he was a prolific scorer. 21 points per game as a sophomore, 20 points per game as a junior. He shot almost 8 threes per game and made 40% of them his junior year, 42% from three for his career. So
that's pretty insane, like, efficiency. Like,
yeah, you have to have that.
42% at that kind of volume is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, Coach Snyder is not going to be needing him to shoot the ball 17 times a game like he did his sophomore year.
Coach Snyder, I love how you said that.
With the squad that I've assembled.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason that he's going to need to shoot that many times, but which probably means he'll be even more efficient, honestly.
Yeah, but one thing's for sure, Phil Pressey is not going to need to force anything at the end of shot clocks or at the end of games because he's going to have two incredible closers in Denman and Kareem Rush on the wing ready to take over. Then at the 4 spot, I have Damari Carroll.
Okay, I have Damari Carroll as well.
All right. Just all-around fantastic player.
He's got that dog in him.
Oh, yeah. He can score a little bit. Excellent defender. Tenacious rebounder.
Can shoot.
Yes. I mean, he just fits perfectly with these like more offensive-minded scorers. Phil Pressey, he's a little bit of a riskier defender trying to get steals and stuff. But then you got a solid guy kind of at the 4 spot cleaning everything up.
Yeah. I feel like Damari Carroll's on like the top 3 or 4, just like all junkyard dog kind of team like that, that Mizzou's ever had. And that also makes me think of a guy who didn't make my squad, but JT Tiller, I feel like also just like had that tenacity.
Yeah.
Like I think of those guys as players that just like wanted it more than you.
Yeah. And I'm looking at Carroll's stats from his final season. Final season was 16 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, and shot 56% from the field on 12 attempts. So efficient.
Super solid.
Yeah. Now, the 5 spot, I had trouble, honestly. And I went with a safe pick, but it might ruffle some feathers. And I got 3 guys here from the 2012 team. I went with Ricardo Ratliff at the 5.
Interesting. I didn't even really think about Ricardo Ratliff. I felt like the 5 position was the most difficult. I think that Missouri's had a ton of great guards throughout the years. Maybe not as many like prolific big guys, but I went with Linus Kleza.
Linus Kleza. Yeah, so you're going a little bit smaller there.
Yeah.
And I like that. Honestly, I didn't consider him as much just because he had his really good sophomore season at Mizzou, and then he bounced. And that season,
you hold a grudge for that.
I do a little bit. Honestly, that was like I've probably said this before, but some of my earliest memories of Mizzou basketball was Quinn Snyder and Linus Kleza, and I realized like, oh, this guy's really good.
Yeah.
And then just when I'm starting to get to know him, he leaves for the NBA.
Broke your heart.
But he was fun to watch. Not as efficient, but he was not on his sophomore season. They weren't very good. He kind of had to be the guy, and teams could kind of focus on him. So
better NBA player probably almost. I mean, he averaged 16 points per game his sophomore year at Mizzou, but great professional career in the NBA and overseas.
Yeah.
I think I watched a highlight video of him at one point scoring like 41 points in a professional game overseas.
Yeah. He played a very high level overseas for sure.
Yeah, so I feel like there was some justification, though, for him leaving early. Like, he ended up having a great career. Honestly, going back to Phil Pressey, again, I almost am just, like, a little bit mad at him for leaving early because I didn't feel like it made sense for, like, his career. Like, he was not one of those, like, shoe-in professional type players and, was undersized and all that, so. Yeah,
I wonder, looking back, if that wasn't a little bit. I would wonder what if you got an honest answer out of Frank Haith. I'd be interested to hear how that conversation went, because I could see a situation where it was basically already known that this was going to be Clarkson's team, that he was going to be the guy that following season, what would have been Phil's senior year. And I wonder if that didn't factor in a little bit.
Yeah.
If it was like, yeah, Phil, you can stay, but, I feel like
think
maybe
he
Frank Haith maybe made some promises there
Yeah.
to Clarkson to get him on board,
That's
and
possible.
he was kind of headed a new direction.
Yeah.
And
Well, Phil, I mean, he had been at Mizzou for a long time already, and maybe he just kind of felt like his time was up, and he was ready to just move on to something else. You know, there was a pretty good amount of turnover that was going to happen,
and you know, I never really thought about the fact that how the 2012 season ended, and then some of those games his junior year, and then getting bounced again to Colorado State.
He was probably feeling the pressure from the fan base a little bit.
Yeah, and he wasn't necessarily having an awesome time there down the stretch, so I can see it.
I also considered for my 5 spot Lawrence Bowers.
Yeah.
He was my 6th man, by the way.
Okay, my 6th man is Kim English. I feel like I've got a lot of positional versatility there. He could play the 2, 3, or the 4. I could slide Damari Carroll to the 5 potentially. And then I have Bowers as my second guy off the bench. So those two coming in, a lot of versatility, good defense. Bowers can maybe pick up some of the shot blocking, rim protection. English, some of the scoring. So those are my first 2 off the bench.
My 7th, so second guy off the bench is Kareem Rush. A little bit of a throwback.
Who was your 3?
Oh my God, I wrote Kareem Rush twice. I meant to say freaking Ricky Paulding.
Oh, okay.
It was my 7th guy. I just realized, I think I just talked about Kareem Rush already. Ricky Paulding is my 7th man.
Okay, yeah,
helping the guards.
He's not on my list, but he's definitely one that I looked at. 17 points per game as a junior. Took a ton of shots. He was not quite as efficient as Rush. He was a 37% three-point shooter on 4 attempts per game in his Mizzou career. But you can't go wrong there. I mean, he excellent all-around player. Definitely one of the better scorers in Mizzou history. Now I've got maybe a controversial one here at the 8 spot. I went with Jonte Porter. And again, I got a guy that can play the 4 or the 5, good shooter. And I'm taking the version of Jonte Porter that played in the Mizzou Madness preseason.
I knew you were going to say that.
Before his sophomore season, that never was, we saw him in person at Mizzou Madness, and he
looked like an All-American.
Looked incredible.
Yeah.
And I was so excited for what he was about to do. And so that's the version of him that I have coming off the bench.
So brutal, man.
Yeah. He's going to he could be the point guard coming off the bench.
Yeah.
And
I don't think it's that controversial, honestly.
Could play the 5 spot.
Yeah.
He could do it all.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you could have thrown. I didn't do this. You could have thrown a healthy Michael Porter Jr. in here really easily too.
Yeah, I thought about it.
I didn't do that, but no, I think that's fine. And he played a whole healthy season at Mizzou. Meant to play a second one and didn't, but
yeah, even his freshman year was blew everybody away as far as expectations.
Mm-hmm. My 8th guy is a guy that might also be a little controversial, and I kind of threw him in here just because of the lack of depth at the big guy position, and just kind of like a actual center. But I chose Arthur Johnson.
Okay.
So probably the earliest guy on this list.
Yeah.
Actually, I guess. Let's see. So he played 2000 to 2004. I think
same as
Ricky Paulding.
Same as Ricky Paulding. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, good rebounder, shot blocker.
Good Mizzou teams.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't, on a team like this that we're making up, you can't have everybody be a scoring threat and taking 10 shots per game.
Yeah. In today's game, that probably isn't the best choice, but he's still going to be that dominant inside presence that just getting all the rebounds and blocking people out and that kind of stuff, just being a general nuisance. Yeah,
he still scored 16 points per game his junior and senior seasons.
Yeah.
So, and just about averaged a double-double his junior season. 16 points per game, 9.6 rebounds per game.
Yeah, you'll take that 10 out of 10 times on your team.
And that's kind of why I considered Tillman for one of these bench spots.
Yeah, I even threw Alex Oriaki on my potential guys.
Yeah. Okay, so I only did 4 bench spots to try to make it somewhat realistic as far as like what a rotation would look like. I gave that last spot to Cassius Robertson. He can run the point a little bit and also shoot it from anywhere and get to the rim, get excellent free throw shooter. So I think I'm looking at a guy that can come in off the bench, and his job when he comes off the bench is to score the basketball.
Yeah, I like that. He has just one legendary season at Missouri, and then just rides off into the sunset.
Yeah, but you would think almost the way he is in my mind, at least, and maybe other people think differently, but I feel like he was there. I feel like he had a whole career. Yeah, like he had a whole arc to his time at Mizzou.
That's how like meaningful it is to be good at Missouri. Like especially in this last decade, like. If you are an outstanding player and the team is good, like we will remember you forever. And that's what Cassius Robertson did. And, he was way better than we thought he was going to be. He was a part of a great team and we
asked to do more than what we expected, but grew into the role and was just the best player we could have imagined having when he
stepped up for in like the weird adversity of all of the things that were going on, and it was just a constant. My last guy, which I already said was on the team, was Phil Pressey. Right. Just definitely is going to run point whenever he's in. Maybe Clarkson can play the 2 or 3 whenever Phil Pressey's in there, but can't have enough ball handlers for sure, and Phil Pressey's about as dependable as it comes. Do you hate my team or what?
Well,
you got a little smirk on your face.
I like your team. I just hard disagree with not starting Phil Pressey. Phil Pressey's going to play like 37 minutes per game for me and Coach Snyder.
Just the full-on distributor role?
Yeah.
Like not asked to score at all, basically?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to...
Averaging 38 minutes a game and 2 points a game.
Yeah, but 12 assists per game.
Okay. That's perfectly reasonable.
3 steals.
That's perfectly fine. I went with designing an NBA team.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Tall, long, and everybody can score and shoot.
Yeah, you're going for positionless basketball. I get it.
Yep.
I'm surprised you didn't pick Konzo Martin as your coach then.
Oh, really?
For positionless basketball.
Yeah, well, I mean, he definitely orchestrated a really good team with positionless basketball. So, yeah, you're probably right.
A couple honorable mentions. I think... These 2 players in particular, I had Jordan Clarkson as an honorable mention, but Jordan Barnett and Jabari Brown, I think, don't get enough credit for how good they were at their peak for Mizzou.
Mm-hmm. No Linus Kaleza?
I thought about it, but like I said...
You're just that mad? Okay, fine.
Yeah, I think Jonte took his spot.
Okay, that's fine. And with that,
Kaleza, not the best defender. And we needed some shot blocking.
He's not super athletic. I think you got a good list. A couple of snubs for me potentially was Kim English didn't make my squad.
Yeah, that's true. That's an outrage.
That is maybe. No Jabari Brown, who was considered. I said Alex Oriaki was considered just because of the depth of like the big guys. He's just kind of offered something unique that that's pretty much it. I thought about JT Tiller, but yeah, you brought some good names that are definitely like a little more current. Who am I trying to say?
Robertson, Jonte.
No, who'd you just say? Jordan Barnett is a great one, and
I think we talked about when we did the like $15 Mizzou squad that you put his numbers and efficiency for his best season up against Kim English's best season if you're trying to like fill the 3 spot, and numbers wise they're nearly identical players. I mean, English probably has the advantage of did a decent job guarding 4s his senior year, and I would say that Barnett has more athleticism, but just from a stat profile, very similar players. Yeah. And of course we know Jabari Brown, he was the ultimate like efficiency scorer as far as like he only shot 3s or layups.
Yeah, like sneaky athletic actually though. Yeah. He could like dunk on you. Speaking of dunking on you, actually one honorable mention I completely forgot to say is Ricky Balding. And obviously I know him as the for the play at Allen Fieldhouse where,
Keon Dooling.
What did I just say?
You said Ricky Paulding.
Oh my God.
Kyle doesn't know players, old players, guys.
I am
Tell him
I am mixing up this triangle of OG players. It's so embarrassing. Keon Dooling, holy crap, man. He's known for the play at Allen Fieldhouse where he's dunking on a guy, gets called for the charge, which it obviously wasn't, and he was a great player too. And
99-2000 season, so
right, yeah, he was on the cusp. I just included him because he was there for the 2000 season.
Yeah, 15 points per game.
I can't believe I just mixed up those three names. It's unbelievable.
I can believe it. Yeah, he shot the ball 12 times per game sophomore season. Anyway, those are our squads. Let us know what you think. Make fun of us for how little we know about players that were playing before we were old enough to watch basketball. And let us know if you like certain players that we left off, or how you would. I really want to know how you would assemble your squad to try to win the national championship. Some people that know a little something have Phil Pressey starting. Others don't. So I like to hear what you guys think.
Wow.
I'm trying to, we got to get some arguments going.
That's
this is
fine.
the first time we've disagreed on something in a while.
I'm holding a grudge on him a little bit more than you are, I think. But when
I love him. When he's back.
No, yeah, I of course love him too. But I'm just thinking about. I'm not sure we can win very many meaningful games with Phil Pressey running the show with how things went. So I'm just saying.
You need to go watch some 2012 highlights.
Well, I'm
you got
very familiar with
2013
that
stuck in your head.
Very familiar with that season. And if you remember, we lost in the first round. So
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
All right. Let us know your squads in the comments. And you can talk to us about it on Discord if you join the Patreon at that tier. Anything else for the folks this week?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do you got?
We got a couple of leftover questions from the wing episode that we didn't get to, mostly because our mouths were on fire and we forgot things.
Yeah, we were a little delirious by the end of it. Okay, let's hear it.
Alrighty. So, who would be the best out of us on the Mizzou basketball team and football teams? Can you imagine us trying to run around with all these guys?
Jeez, man. I feel like this is gonna be the most I want back in my day kind of a response ever. But I feel like there was a time in my life where I was pretty fit, pretty good at basketball. That time is not now, and I feel like producer Cameron would probably be the most impactful for probably both sports, honestly.
Yeah, I would agree. I could probably set some good screens, and that's about it for basketball.
Yeah.
I could block out.
There you go. They would just literally be grab it right over you, probably.
I'd get some
even with a
foul
blockout.
calls.
Okay, there you go. You can get to the line, maybe.
Yeah.
I'd call you the little fundamental.
The little fundamental, yes. Blocking out.
You can get some assists, I bet.
Probably throw the ball away a lot. But I'd block out and set screens. And that's about it. And for the football team,
you wouldn't kick.
That is for sure. Would not try to kick anything ever. And the only thing I can do is catch the football. But I'm really slow. So
you're really selling yourself.
I guess I would play wide receiver.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
be slow, but be able to catch the ball.
At the collegiate level, I'm pretty sure we're all completely worthless. But I feel like you definitely don't want me on an island. That's for sure. You don't want me on skates or trying to have to move my feet quickly. I feel like I'm probably a defensive lineman or something like that. Just I'm probably a D end. That's the most simple thing. Just try and get to the quarterback or make him feel uncomfortable if you possibly can.
If you played every snap in your physical prime, if you played every snap of a collegiate football season for Mizzou at defensive end, how many times do you think you would touch the opposing quarterback before the play was over?
With the ball still in his hand?
Yeah.
If I played every snap?
Every snap.
Worked out with the team, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I would say
you're the starting defensive end
for the whole year.
Yeah.
I would say Probably 4 or 5 times.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. There was a time in my life where I was pretty fast and
Yeah.
like pretty agile, but
And he might just run into you a couple times.
yeah, he might just like, that's true. Or the offensive lineman might literally just pick me up and throw me, and I might just like land in his
That'd
direction.
probably be most of the plays.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, man.
Next question. Or do you want to answer that one?
I don't know. You guys kind of covered it. Football was definitely the sport that I excelled the most at. So,
You played receiver in high school.
yeah, I did. I probably, if it was something I wanted to like pursue and I like worked out and all that stuff, I was a beanpole. I couldn't have played in college and been able to do anything significant probably. But I don't know. I probably could have played at like a small D2, D3 school. Maybe.
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
What could have been?
The next question is, what time period would we want to live in, if not the current times, and why?
That's probably cheating, but I would want to live in the future.
How is that cheating?
I don't know. I feel like you don't know what it is, so you can't.
Okay. You know what, Cameron? That's an encouraging answer. I like that. Feels like the world's like on fire right now. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that somebody's looking forward to it, the future at least.
Well, you might fast forward and there's nothing left, in which case, well,
yeah.
that's it.
Well, I didn't mean like literally on fire, but maybe it is somewhere.
It's probably gonna end at some point.
It surely will. Yeah. How far in the future are we talking here? Like 50 years?
Let me jump 200 years in the future.
Wow.
I'll live there.
What do you think you're going to see when you open your eyes?
No telling. Hopefully, other people. What if I was the only person? They might worship me.
Well,
Whatever.
if you were the only
The
person,
only
then nobody
person
would be
who
there
would
to worship
worship
you.
The robots. or
Oh,
something.
okay. The AI, yeah,
Yeah.
they would, yeah, you would really draw some attention, I think. Look at this meat sack over here.
How's he doing that?
Look at this meat mash. I don't really know, man. This is kind of a tricky question. I feel like I would maybe like to be a little bit older than I was, but like kind of in the current day. Like I would maybe have liked to live a little bit more of my life like pre-internet. I think that honestly we're maybe some of the last kids that lived life like before the internet and like still remember it. And I remember the internet was like a big thing, kind of started to be a big thing when we were like in maybe middle school, something like that. So I would just maybe move my birth date back like 5 or 10 years and just be able to like actually like synthesize the rise of the internet like and really like understand it as an adult would be kind of cool.
Another benefit for that is you would know more about Kareem Rush, Ricky Paulding, and Keon Dooling. If you
What a
did that.
tie-in.
You got me, folks.
If you want to hear more of those kind of questions and answers while our mouths are on fire, subscribe on Patreon and watch the Wings episode.
Yeah.
Coming soon. Is that all for this week?
That's it.
You done?
Are you done?
Nothing else from me.
Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above: Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan Demore, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Luis Hernandez, Tim Keynes, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Groffalo, and Brandon Hanks. Two Brandons.
What a list. Thank you very much, gentlemen. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our new stickers, and our t-shirts are re-updated. We reloaded, can't think of the word, restocked. They were
Reloaded, restocked, re-updated.
The old t-shirts restocked. So go check them out. MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next week.